Jordan Williams had it all. He was young, successful, and wealthy, a multimillionaire thanks to his family's business and his own hard work. At 32, he owned luxury cars, lived in a mansion, and traveled the world. But despite his financial success, Jordan felt a deep emptiness. He had never found someone who truly loved him for who he was, beyond the money and expensive lifestyle. He longed for a genuine connection, a love that didn't depend on his wealth. One sunny afternoon, Jordan found himself volunteering at a local charity event that his company sponsored. It was a food drive in one of the city's less affluent neighborhoods. While packing boxes, Jordan struck up a conversation with a young woman who stood across from him, stacking canned goods with a bright smile. Her name was Lisa. Lisa was different from anyone Jordan had met. She wasn't drawn to him because of his looks or charm. Instead, they connected over their shared desire to help others. As they packed boxes and handed out food to families in need, Jordan found himself drawn to Lisa's genuine warmth and kindness. She had a way of making everyone around her feel special, and her laugh was contagious. After the event, they sat together on a bench, enjoying the warm breeze and talking for hours. Lisa shared stories about her life, how she had grown up with very little and had to work hard for everything she had. She told him about her dreams of opening a small business one day to help support her community. Jordan admired her ambition and resilience, but as they talked, he made a decision. He wouldn't tell Lisa who he really was. He didn't want her to see him as the wealthy man with all the answers. He wanted her to know him as Jordan, the man, not Jordan, the millionaire. Over the next few weeks, Jordan and Lisa spent more time together. They went on simple dates, walking in the park, grabbing coffee at a small cafe, and watching sunsets by the river. Jordan didn't take her to fancy restaurants or spoil her with expensive gifts. He wanted to keep things modest, afraid that if Lisa found out the truth, it might change how she saw him. Lisa, on the other hand, was falling for Jordan more and more each day. She admired his humility and how down-to-earth he seemed. He wasn't flashy or boastful like some men she had met. He seemed content with a simple life, and she loved that about him. She didn't care that he wasn't rich, at least that's what she thought. To her, it didn't matter how much money someone had, as long as they were kind, honest, and cared for her. But as their relationship deepened, Jordan found himself torn. He loved Lisa's sincerity, but a small part of him couldn't shake the fear that her feelings would change if she knew the truth. He had been burned in the past by women who were only interested in his money, and the thought of that happening with Lisa terrified him. He began to feel trapped in his own lie. One evening, after another beautiful day spent with Lisa, Jordan sat alone in his small apartment, the one he rented specifically for his normal life. His real home, the grand mansion with the marble floors and the sprawling garden, was miles away. As much as he enjoyed his time with Lisa, pretending to live this modest life was starting to weigh on him. He knew that sooner or later, the truth would come out. But he also knew that revealing his true identity would risk everything he had built with Lisa. Lisa, on the other hand, had no idea about the internal conflict Jordan was struggling with. To her, he was perfect, humble, kind, and attentive. She admired how Jordan worked hard and lived simply, just like her. They spent hours talking about their hopes and dreams, and Lisa felt that with Jordan, she had finally found someone who understood her. As the weeks passed, Jordan found himself falling more and more in love with Lisa. Every time she smiled at him, every time they shared a moment of quiet peace together, his heart swelled. But along with that love came an increasing sense of dread. What would happen when Lisa found out the truth? Would she still love him for the man he was, or would she feel betrayed? Jordan tried to push those thoughts away, focusing on the present, but he knew the lie he was living couldn't last forever. As their relationship grew, so did his fear of losing her. And so Jordan decided to keep his secret a little longer, hoping that by the time Lisa found out, their love would be strong enough to survive the truth. But deep down, He knew that the longer he kept up the charade, the harder it would be to make things right. Little did he know, that moment of truth would come sooner than he expected, and it would change everything. As the months rolled by, Jordan's relationship with Lisa deepened, but so did his fear of being discovered. He loved her more than he had ever loved anyone, but the weight of the secret he carried grew heavier each day. Jordan had built a life of simplicity around her, carefully maintaining the illusion that he was just a regular guy working an average job. Every time Lisa marveled at how hard he worked or commented on how she appreciated his modest lifestyle, it chipped away at him. She was falling for him, but not the whole truth of who he was. Jordan began to wonder, could Lisa truly love him if she knew the truth about his wealth? He feared the answer so much that he decided to push the test further, almost as if seeking reassurance. He started acting like he was struggling financially, adding little details to the story he had built. He would casually mention how he was finding it hard to make ends meet or talk about needing to save for a simple weekend getaway. He wanted to see how Lisa would react, hoping her love for him would remain steady. To his relief, Lisa only grew more supportive. Whenever he mentioned financial difficulties, she reassured him that it didn't matter. "We don't need money to be happy," she'd say with a smile. "As long as we're together, I'm fine with a simple life." Her words should have comforted him, but instead, they deepened his conflict. Jordan felt torn between the truth he was hiding and the relationship he was building on a lie. He wanted to believe her, wanted to believe that she would love him no matter what, but he couldn't shake the fear that once his secret came out, everything would change. Lisa, on the other hand, began to notice small inconsistencies in Jordan's story. He always claimed to be struggling, yet sometimes he'd slip up. Once she saw him wearing an expensive-looking watch he had quickly brushed off as a gift from a friend. Another time, she saw him step into a luxury car when he thought she wasn't looking. Her suspicion grew, but she pushed it aside, wanting to trust the man she had fallen for. One weekend, Jordan suggested a quiet, low-cost camping trip in the nearby mountains. It was his way of continuing the act, reinforcing the idea that he couldn't afford much. Lisa agreed, happy to spend time with him, no matter the setting. They spent the days hiking and talking about their dreams and plans for the future. Lisa talked about her goals of starting a small business and making a better life for herself, and Jordan listened with admiration, falling deeper in love with her. But the camping trip only served to heighten Lisa's doubts. Jordan was trying so hard to maintain his facade, but she sensed something wasn't right. He avoided talking about his past, and whenever she asked him about his family or childhood, he would change the subject. Her instincts told her that Jordan was hiding something, but she didn't know what. Back in the city, life continued in much the same way. They kept going on simple dates, strolling through parks, and eating at modest diners. Lisa enjoyed their time together, but the questions in her mind grew louder with each passing day. She began to wonder why Jordan was so secretive about certain things. Why did he always seem uncomfortable when money came up? And why had he never invited her to his apartment or introduced her to any friends? As the unease between them simmered beneath the surface, Jordan became increasingly anxious. His charade was beginning to unravel, and he knew it was only a matter of time before Lisa discovered the truth. He hated himself for testing her like this, but he didn't know how to stop. He was too afraid that if he revealed his true wealth, Lisa would see him differently, and their love would change. One evening, after an ordinary dinner at a small cafe, Lisa gently pressed him about the inconsistencies she had noticed. "Jordan," she began, trying to sound calm, "I've been wondering about a few things. Like the car I saw you in the other day, and the watch. You don't have to explain if you don't want to, but it's just, I feel like there's something you're not telling me." Jordan's heart pounded. He wasn't ready for this conversation, but it was clear Lisa had seen through the cracks in his story. He smiled nervously, brushing it off again with a vague explanation, but he could see the disappointment in her eyes. It was the moment he had been dreading, the moment when his lies were starting to catch up with him. Lisa didn't push further that night, But the seed of doubt had been planted, and as much as she wanted to trust Jordan, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was a secret he wasn't telling her. The longer he kept up his act, the more Jordan realized that he couldn't hide the truth forever. And as their relationship deepened, he knew that the test he had created was about to reach its breaking point. But little did he know, Lisa would soon uncover the truth on her own. And when she did, everything between them would change. The tension between Jordan and Lisa had been growing ever since she began noticing the cracks in his story. Jordan could feel it too, but he kept pushing the truth away, hoping that maybe things would somehow resolve themselves. However, deep down, he knew the secret he was keeping couldn't stay hidden forever. One Saturday afternoon, while Jordan was running errands, Lisa decided to drop by his apartment. She hadn't seen where he lived before. Jordan had always found excuses for why they couldn't hang out at his place. "It's too messy," he'd say, or "I'm still getting some repairs done." But after their last conversation, her curiosity had only grown stronger. Today, she wanted to surprise him with a home-cooked meal, thinking that maybe it would ease the tension between them. But when Lisa arrived at the address Jordan had given her, she was stunned. The building looked nothing like the small, modest apartment she had imagined. Instead, it was a sleek, modern high-rise with a doorman and luxury cars parked out front. For a moment, she wondered if she had the wrong address, but after double-checking her phone, she confirmed it. Lisa walked inside, her heart pounding with confusion and a hint of dread. She approached the front desk, where the concierge greeted her with a polite smile. "Hi," Lisa said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm here to see Jordan Williams." The concierge's smile widened. "Ah, Mr. Williams. Yes, he lives in the penthouse. Do you need me to let you up?" Lisa froze, her mind spinning. Penthouse. She felt her chest tighten as she nodded and followed the concierge to the private elevator. Her thoughts were racing. How could Jordan, the man who claimed to be struggling financially, live in a penthouse in one of the most expensive buildings in the city? As the elevator doors opened, Lisa stepped out into a grand hallway lined with marble floors and elegant artwork. She approached Jordan's door, her hands trembling. After a brief hesitation, she knocked. A few moments later, Jordan opened the door, his expression shifting from surprise to panic as he saw her standing there. "Lisa, what are you doing here?" he stammered, his voice filled with unease. "I wanted to surprise you," Lisa said quietly, her eyes scanning the lavish interior behind him. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, designer furniture, and the unmistakable signs of luxury. "But it seems like the surprise is on me." Jordan's heart sank as he realized the moment he had been dreading was here. There was no way to hide the truth any longer. "Lisa, I can explain," he began, stepping aside to let her in. But Lisa didn't move. She crossed her arms, hurt and confusion etched on her face. "You live here, in a penthouse, after all the times you told me you were struggling with money." Lisa's voice cracked with emotion. "Why would you lie to me, Jordan?" Jordan sighed deeply, knowing he couldn't escape this conversation anymore. "Lisa, I didn't want to lie to you," he said softly. I needed to know if you loved me for me, not for my money." Lisa's eyes widened in disbelief. "So this was all some kind of test. You've been pretending to be someone you're not this entire time just to see if I would still love you." Jordan nodded, guilt washing over him. "I didn't know how else to protect myself. I've been hurt before, Lisa. I needed to be sure." "But you weren't honest with me," Lisa said, her voice trembling with anger and pain. "You let me believe you were someone you're not. You tested my love instead of trusting it." Jordan stepped closer, his eyes pleading. "Lisa, I love you. I do. Lisa shook her head, backing away. "How can I believe anything you say now? You were pretending the whole time. You never trusted me. I thought I found someone who was real, someone I could build a future with, but you were playing a game with my heart." Jordan felt his heart breaking as he watched the tears well up in Lisa's eyes. "I never wanted to hurt you," he whispered. "I just didn't want you to love me because of my money. I never cared about your money." Lisa shouted, her voice thick with emotion. "I fell in love with the man I thought you were, the man who didn't need wealth to be happy. But now I don't even know who you are." Silence hung between them, heavy with the weight of Jordan's deception. Lisa's heart ached with betrayal. She had believed in their love, believed that they were building something real together. But now everything felt like a lie. "I can't do this, Jordan," Lisa said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "I need time to think." Jordan's chest tightened as he realized that this test, the test he thought would protect him, had destroyed the very thing he cherished most. In the days after Lisa walked out of Jordan's penthouse, he was consumed with regret. The silence in his luxurious apartment, once a source of pride, now felt unbearable. All the wealth he had accumulated, the status he had worked so hard to achieve, felt empty without her. He had thought his test would protect him from getting hurt, but instead, it had ruined the most meaningful relationship he had ever had. Jordan spent hours replaying their last conversation in his head, the hurt and betrayal in Lisa's eyes haunting him. He had been so focused on protecting himself from being used for his money that he hadn't realized how much he was hurting her in the process. She had fallen in love with him for the person he pretended to be, and now she wasn't sure who he really was. Unable to focus on anything else, Jordan reached out to Lisa several times. He left her messages, apologizing and explaining that he never meant to hurt her. He told her how much he loved her and that he was willing to do anything to make things right. But Lisa didn't respond. She needed time, just as she had said. For Lisa, the past few days had been a whirlwind of emotions. She still loved Jordan, but the trust between them had been shattered. She had thought they were building a future based on honesty and mutual understanding, but now everything felt like a lie. Could she forgive him for deceiving her? Could their relationship survive this betrayal? Lisa spent her time reflecting on the moments they had shared before the truth came out. The long walks, the simple dinners, the deep conversations. She had seen so much good in Jordan, so much kindness and sincerity. But now she wasn't sure what was real and what had been part of his test. One evening, as Lisa sat in her apartment lost in thought, there was a knock on her door. She hesitated, her heart racing. When she opened the door, she found Jordan standing there, looking vulnerable and remorseful. He wasn't dressed in his usual expensive attire. Instead, he looked more like the man she had fallen in love with. Simple, humble, and real. "Lisa," he began softly, his voice filled with emotion. "I know I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have tested you the way I did. I was scared of being loved for the wrong reasons. But in trying to protect myself, I ended up betraying the one person I love most." Lisa looked at him, her eyes softening, but she didn't say anything. Jordan continued, his heart pounding. "I realize now that trust isn't something you test. It's something you build together. I was wrong to doubt you, and I was wrong to keep my true self from you. I'd spent so long hiding behind my wealth, thinking it would keep me safe, but all it did was push you away. I'm asking for your forgiveness, Lisa. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to earn back your trust." Lisa felt tears welling up in her eyes. She could see the sincerity in his face, the genuine remorse in his words. For the first time since their argument, she saw the man she had fallen in love with, the man who wasn't defined by his money or status, but by his heart. "I don't know, Jordan," Lisa said, her voice trembling. "I love you, but you lied to me. You made me feel like I was part of some kind of test." "I know," Jordan replied, stepping closer. "And I hate that I made you feel that way. I never should have done it. You deserve someone who trusts you fully, and I want to be that person. I'm not asking you to forgive me right now, but I'm asking for a chance to prove that I can be better. A chance to rebuild what I broke." Lisa wiped away a tear, her heart torn between love and fear. She wanted to believe him, wanted to give him another chance. but the pain of his deception still lingered. "I need you to understand," Lisa said slowly, "that love isn't about tests or proving yourself. It's about trust, honesty, and being vulnerable with each other. If we're going to move forward, you have to be real with me. No more lies, no more pretending." Jordan nodded, his eyes filled with hope. "I promise. No more lies. No more tests. Just me, the real me. I want to build a future with you, one based on trust and love." For a long moment, they stood in silence, the weight of everything they had been through hanging between them. Finally, Lisa spoke, her voice soft but steady. "I'll give us one more chance, Jordan, but you have to be honest with me, always. I can't go through this again." Relief flooded through Jordan, and he gently took her hand. "Thank you," he whispered, his heart swelling with gratitude. "I won't let you down." As they stood there, hand in hand, both knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they also knew that love was worth fighting for. And with honesty and trust, they could rebuild what had been broken. Together, they would start anew, ready to face the future with open hearts and a commitment to never hide from each other again. Thanks for watching.